Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the Next Generation Review Show. Whoop whoop. Good evening, Mazza McBob. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Jolly good. And here we are. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's the Next Generation Review Show. And we're here again. Unfortunately, once again, G-Star has not been able to join us this evening. He's had a lot going on in his life this week. So, he's been busy sorting out, looking for a new career and things. So we wish him well with that. And with a bit of luck, he will be here next week. And he'll also be joining me on Friday night for the Monty Zone. So
soon. You only just did the other one 2 weeks ago, didn't it?
A 2-week gap this time, yeah. We're going for a 2-week gap.
Exciting.
Yeah. And we've got a special guest this Friday as well.
Very good.
Yes, a chap called Daniel, who's our theme for this Friday is ufology and UFOs in the southwest, Devon and Cornwall, and we've got a local sky watcher who's going to come share his the tools of the trade that he uses and tips and tricks and some of his stories. So yeah, that's all on Friday. But tonight we're here to talk about the Next Generation. Hang on, I've just got Smiler Rainbow coming in with my tea. With my cup of tea. Thank you very much. Thank you, darling.
All is well.
Thank you. Yes, so I've got a cup of tea now, so all is well in the world.
I have wine. I mean, it's become a bit traditional for me on a Wednesday now, so I'm not going to break that habit.
It is. I just figured for me it's a 2-stream week with the Monty Zone on Friday, so I'll save a bottle of wine for Friday as a Friday thing. So
it's a good plan.
Cup of tea for me tonight. Yeah. So Star Trek: The Next Generation. I think this is episode. Well, it depends on how you number it. Well, I think it's 9 and 10. If you'd count, I like to count Encounter at Farpoint.
Encounter at Farpoint is 2 episodes.
1 and 2, just because it's how it's numbered on the VHS videos that I used to buy.
Showing your age. You should have said DVDs, Blu-rays.
Well, no, this is all a nostalgia trip for me, and that's why I use the cover of those VHSs on the title screen. Just to bring back that sense of nostalgia. But firstly, one thing I was going to mention before we get into the nuts and bolts of the first episode, The Battle. Have you managed to watch any of Star Trek Lower Decks on Prime yet?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I must do.
I will quiz you about that one. I'll ask you about that one next week.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it I'll watch it this weekend, and I'll let you know next week.
Yeah, just wanted to hear your opinion on it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, saying hello to chat then. We got Smiler.
Got Lindy Hop.
Wrench and Lindy Hop. Yeah. And yourself.
Yeah, just thought I'd say hi. People are in chat. There's 4 people watching, so some people haven't chatted yet, but I'm sure they're having a good time.
Well, yeah.
We may or may not have Stu Plum tuning in tonight because it depends if he can get any signal from hospital.
Yeah.
So well wishes to Stu Plum, and tune in if you can, but watch it on catch up if you can't.
Yeah, we may see him back, or he might just be listening in if he can get if he can get in. So I know he has actually seen an episode of Lower Decks, but while he's been in hospital.
He's also watched the episodes in preparation for tonight twice.
Twice, yes.
He watched them yesterday and today.
Well, when you're laying in hospital, what better to just watch Star Trek episodes over and over again? There's worse things you could be doing, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yes, we wish you well. Right, so the first episode, the battle.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm getting a little feedback from it. I don't know if it's maybe my headset, but I'm hearing myself back at myself. Right, so the teaser, the beginning. Right. We get so. In a response from an order from Starfleet, the Enterprise has been sent to the Zandi Sabah system to rendezvous with the Ferengi Alliance vessel.
Ferengi again.
The Ferengi again, yeah. Ferengi, second time in several episodes. But they've been travelling to this system, and for 3 days there's been no message from them. They've not heard anything except for "Stand by, Enterprise." That's all they've heard.
How rude.
Yeah. Now, I see, why I asked you about Star Trek Lower Decks is because I was going to make a joke about second contact situations. So, like, they make a joke in it that, you know, you got flagships like the Enterprise, which get all the prestige first contact missions, and like then you get like the lesser ships.
People who do the follow up.
The second contact, yeah, which is all just a bit messy. It's like all the bureaucraticness of just signing contracts and all that sort of thing, you know. It's the rubbish job. So I'm like, oh, the Enterprise gets a second contact mission. So anyway, Crusher, Dr. Crusher visits Picard in his quarters, and he's complaining about having a headache. And Beverly's surprised because they don't get headaches anymore. It's like, what? She's even like sort of second, like, what? And Picard gets all irritated with her because he's having to repeat himself, and he's not
a headache,
headache woman. And she's like, I know what a headache is. And she tells him he needs to go to sick bay. This is the sort of conversation that wives have with their husbands all the time in households all over the world, I'd imagine.
Why don't you call your doctor? No, you are my doctor.
No, I'm fine. Yeah. And he kind of was like, no, and she says, you have an order to go to sick bay from the only person on this ship who can give you an order. And he's like, oh, man.
True.
But then, just as that moment, he gets a message from the bridge to say they've finally been hailed by the Ferengi. And he's like, well, I'll have to go to the cell. I'll go to sick bay later. And he heads off to the bridge. There, the hailing frequencies open, and they're talking to Damon Bock. It was Bock. It was Ferengi.
Yeah.
He's the Ferengi Damon, who's like a captain of the Ferengi ship. And he claims to know Picard, although Picard doesn't recognise him at all. And he wants to speak to Picard in person to discuss a mutual problem. And at that point, Troy in the background's like, she just terminates she just terminates the conversation, the communication, like silences it. Yard just cuts it off right there, and Picard just turns around, doesn't seem phased at all that he was just in the middle of talking to this person on the view screen, and they just get cut off. Anyway,
he trusts his bridge crew.
He does trust his bridge crew. I'm just seeing it from the Ferengi point of view. You know, they're in the middle of talking, and the line goes dead.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hello?
It's happened to me 3 times trying to talk to Mum today, so, you know.
Yeah. Because then the bridge crew all stand about and have a little discussion. And Troy's like, she's sensing considerable deception from Bock's side of things, and we should proceed with caution type thing. Which
is a little bit of a goof in itself, in that Betazoids aren't supposed to be able to read Ferengi.
Oh, no, they're not, are they? Because of their duplicitous ways.
Goof girl.
Goof girl. Yeah, well done, Goof girl. So yeah, but you know they have quite a discussion about it on the bridge, and I'm just imagining that Damon is just like still stood on his bridge.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
That's right. So like I'm thinking, they're on this like second contact mission here, and they've already caused a diplomatic incident. You know. Yeah. Well done, Troy. Good evening,
Karen's
Karen.
just checked in. Hi,
Hey.
Karen.
Hello. Good evening. I don't know if she's watching us now.
Watching from the beginning, or
Yeah.
who knows?
I don't know. It's the way it goes, isn't it? If you're listening to this now, press the live
Skip forward.
live button. Yeah. So they call him back, and they say, yes, we're happy to meet you. And he's like, well, do you want to meet here or on the Enterprise? She's watching live. There you go. And they say, no,
Yay.
no, we'll meet on the Enterprise. And then Waffler's like, I can't believe they're coming here. And I thought, it's the Enterprise. It's the flagship of the Federation. They invite alien dignitaries onto their ship like every episode.
Yeah, and I'm also surprised that they maybe took that decision because, in the first one, when they encountered the Ferengi before and they were saying, oh, they're so mysterious, we've hardly seen them. You think, like, given an opportunity to actually go on board their ship and take a look around, like, surely the curiosity would have been too much to resist.
Yeah, we'll take tricorders and...
we'll come over. We'll see what you got. Yeah, for sure.
And then they said to themselves, but that does mean building more sets. Right.
Yeah.
There's that.
Just bring him here. Yeah.
Yeah, bring him here. We don't have to do anything. All we have to do is just beam him onto the bridge. They couldn't be even bothered to go anywhere else. They just came straight to the bridge. So that was the end of the teaser.
Which they don't normally do. They'd normally bring them into the transporter bay, wouldn't they, and meet them there.
Yeah, because they quite often beam someone in. But I think it's because the Ferengi insist on using their own transporter beams. So, like they're beaming down to a planet, they just beamed them straight onto the bridge.
To any location.
Yeah. So, after the intro, Picard's being examined in sickbay by Dr. Crusher. And Beverly's explaining that headaches used to be common all the time, and it's something that humans used to experience. But they cured it around the same time as they cured the common cold. So it's good to know that in a couple of 100 years' time, we would have cured the common cold. But after her investigation, she couldn't find anything wrong with Picard. But she gives him some sort of painkiller. She explains to Picard, like he's an idiot, what a painkiller is. No, it's just a thing that's masquerading the pain. It's still there. Which I thought was quite
I'm sure
funny.
it's probably a more high-tech thing than a painkiller, but yeah.
Yeah, they don't call it a painkiller, but suddenly, back on the bridge, Wesley's developed clairvoyance and predicts that they're about to get an intruder alert. And sure enough, as soon as he makes this bold prediction, the computer announces that there's an intruder alert.
Which is actually wrong. It's not an intruder, is it? It should be a perimeter alert.
Proximity alert?
Yeah, proximity. Yeah, either proximity or perimeter, or an intruder alert would mean somebody is on the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
So they both got it wrong.
Yeah, they got it all. They all got it wrong.
All got it wrong.
But and he goes to.
I blame Wes because that's.
Well, it's always his fault. Damn you, Wesley.
Crusher.
Yeah,
I know it's Wheaton.
I like to say we'll get it in chat any second now.
From Smiler.
Yeah,
Wheaton.
But he explains that he was in engineering, boosting the long-range sensors as you do on your day off, and happened to notice that there was a ship approaching. And Picard berated him for not following protocols and not just going Wesley to bridge. Yeah, I've just discovered a ship approaching. He then leaves his post, walks the length of engineering, down the corridor, into a turbo lift, gets a turbo lift from one end of the Enterprise to the other, gets out of the turbo lift, walks the length of the bridge, and tells Geordie at the helm, oh, by the way, yeah. So he says, "Sorry, yes, he'll follow," but he's only an ensign, isn't he? There's our Wheaton in the chat. So yeah, yeah. They try hailing the ship that's approaching, but they don't get any response. That's when the Ferengi beam directly onto the bridge, right in front of the view screen.
But also, when Geordie actually says it looks like a something class ship.
A Constitution class.
He said, wasn't it Constellation class, he said?
No, he says Constitution class, I think.
Oh, because what was the original Enterprise?
Constitution class.
Yeah, no, he doesn't say Constitution class. He says Constellation class. His mouth says Constitution class, but they dubbed it over. They decided that they didn't want to use Constitution class because they wanted it to be more special for the Enterprise. So he actually says Constellation class, but you can see his lips. It's very similar, but his lips do something different.
Oh, well, I
went back and double checked.
I've actually made a note that it's not a Constitution class ship because the original Enterprise is a Constitution class ship. This is nothing like a Constitution class ship.
But they did. It says Constellation class, but they did change it. They originally had Constitution class.
I'm wondering
whether you've watched a version that didn't have
whether
the dubbing?
Whether the HD upscaled version has that recorrected.
What, because it would look too obvious that it was dubbed or something?
I think they put Constitution back in, I think.
Yeah, perhaps. If you look on Netflix, it's definitely...
Either way, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It should be Constellation, I think.
There was also another goof that I think I might have missed, but it was about 8 minutes in, and it was a classic goof. But even knowing it was there, it took me a couple of efforts to see it. But about 8 minutes in on the bridge... there's a mic boom. Just, you can see it just poked down in the middle, just at the ceiling, just on a bridge shot.
Oh,
just sort of pokes down just a little bit. I'm like, where's the mic boom? But it's just in the center at the top. It just sort of dips into the scene and then kind of dips back out again.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that now.
It's 8 minutes 26.
Right.
Maybe they've taken that out of the HD version. Maybe they've touched that up.
Well, they can because they do like zoom in slightly to cut any edge things out.
It is very much on the edge, but you can see it on the Netflix version.
Right. Okay. I'll have a look for that.
8 minutes 26.
8 minutes. Hang on.
You can write that down.
Yeah. 8 minutes 26. Right. Done. Right. So the Ferengi beam on.
Sorry. I digressed.
No,
I digressed.
No,
the beam on.
Beaming on. Yeah, they're at the bridge. They're there in all their weirdness. And they introduce each other. I didn't bother writing down their names. But once again, they were expressively interested in the fact that they had females on the bridge wearing clothes. Because they've heard all about this. They seemed
more interested and less grossed out by it this time, though.
Yes. Yeah, they weren't. They were just like, ugh.
The first time.
And which then led me to... got me thinking, because the Ferengi are like... Stu Plum's in chat. And he saw the mic. Centre
Welcome,
right.
Stu Plum. Oh, you saw the mic.
And it moved.
It did. It sort of dipped in, wiggled in, and then kind of dipped back out again.
Good eye there, Stu.
Good eye, that man.
Good eye. My thought was that they're like traders of the galaxy and are like, the commercial arm of the edge of the Federation sort of thing. they trade with like literally hundreds, if not thousands, of Federation. I don't know of any other race in the galaxy who, expressly have their females walking around naked all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
you wouldn't think they'd find it so odd.
No, are they from a part of the galaxy that we really don't know that much about, or are just like really obscure? But I don't know. It just struck me as strange all of a sudden. It's like, oh, anyway.
Stu Plum's with us, but he's getting lots of buffering.
Oh,
that's the NHS Wi-Fi for you.
That is, unfortunately, yeah.
But having you here is good enough.
Yes, it is. They also at that point they want to buy data, so they're like, oh, they're females in the clothes, and you got an android helm, so we'd like to buy him.
We've heard about you.
Yeah, we'd like to buy him. And Picard's like, no, he's not for sale. And he's not quite sure what to say. So Riker steps in and goes, he's second-hand merchandise. So you don't want to buy him. And Data's like, second-hand merchandise? Oh, a human joke. Yar reports the other starships approaching, and Box says it's nothing to worry about because it's under their control. And in fact, it's a gift to Picard to honour the hero of Maxia. So it's quite nice. They're having a nice get-together, and Picard's getting a gift from the Ferengi, which is really, really quite a nice thing to do. Picard's a bit confused. He's like, the hero of Maxia? And Data searches his memory banks and goes, it's likely referring to an incident 9 years ago in the Maxia star system where an unidentified ship was destroyed by Picard. And I think at that point Bok is like, it wasn't unidentified, it was a Ferengi ship. But kind of like showing his anger a little bit too early there, I think. It's like, hang on a minute,
yeah.
This whole story doesn't add up.
Yeah, he has a very angry reaction, which, any sensible, vaguely clued in person would realize that, this whole thing is a bit suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah, Picard goes on to express his regret that really it's one of those, like, I expressed the regret that vessel didn't identify itself and just shot at my ship. Then Picard then gets another headache, and this time Troy felt it too. She went, "Oh, I feel that too." But the ship turns out to be the Stargazer, which was Picard's old ship, and the daemon, Bok, offers it free of charge, much to the displeasure of his comrades, because they're Ferengi. They're like, and I offered this as a gift in his second in command. It's like, at a profit. And he's like, no, we're just giving it to him for free. I'm like, free?
It's one of those weird ones, though, where it feels like the actor read a line and didn't get the inflection. Because one of the actors, he says something like, you're not going to sell it to him. But what it was supposed to be was, you're not going to sell it to him? You know what I mean? It was almost like as if they're saying, you're not going to sell it to him. But yeah, it's like he's read the line, but it could have been read two ways, and he read it the wrong way.
Yeah. But they had to get this series out and in the can, so it's like they don't have time for redos. It's like one take wonders.
Be true.
Yeah. So, a little bit later, Picard's back in sickbay because he's still getting the headaches, and Troy says she's feeling it as well, and she feels it is it's mechanical in nature, and which is odd, but then Picard in describing, his kind of mind's going back to the ship in the conflict, and he's like, do you smell smoke? And he's then convinced he smells smoke. He's acting a bit weird.
And this is like getting, at this point, a bit reminiscent of, was it last week, The Lonely Among Us, where he got taken over by and he started acting quite erratically. And the crew just kind of continued, even though their captain was behaving quite erratically. So now, like, he's having hallucinations, both sort of, visual and olfactory hallucinations. And he's got severe head pain and Troy sensing weird things, and yeah, they just continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the observation lounge, Picard is relaying the story of how the Stargazer was attacked, and the attacker damaged their shields, and in all the confusion they attacked again. And as he's relaying the story, suddenly Picard asks Stargazer's weapons officer to identify the ship. I can't remember his name, but
like Tibor or something. Tibor. I can't remember. Something.
Vibor or I don't know, whatever.
Not sure.
But yeah, he kind of like, and then we attack and identify that ship. And then he's like, oh, a Vigo. Oh yeah,
Vigo. Yeah, nice one.
Yes, Vigo. Yeah, he's like, Vigo, identify the ship. And he's like, oh, I'm getting really carried away with this. It's like, yes, you are. Like, but they all again, they don't seem to mind. They just carry on about their day. And then he goes on to explain that how he defeated them, and he goes through the explanation of the Picard maneuver, which is basically he takes the ship instantly to warp speed, so it's going faster than light, just for like a millisecond, so that to the other ship, it appears like his ship's in two places at once, because the light's still travelling from his original location to the ship and then the new location. And that level of distraction was enough for him to pop off everything that they had, or a few what do you call them? Torpedoes.
Photon torpedoes?
Yeah, that was it, photon torpedoes. And they did them in. And so they destroyed the Ferengi ship, but their ship was so damaged that they had to abandon it in rescue pods. So then Data, Worf, Yar, and LaForge all beam over to the Stargazer onto the bridge. And it's the first time we sort of see inside the Stargazer. And I'm sure you're going to tell me some trivia about the bridge, and I'm pretty sure it's the same bridge set from Wrath of Khan and The Search for Spock. Am I right?
The same bridge set as in what, that an Enterprise bridge set?
Yeah, it's the Enterprise bridge set from the Wrath of Khan.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the stuff I found said it was a redress of one of the film's era, Bird of Prey, and another one said it was a redress of the Battle Bridge. So
well,
they were conflicting things, but it's probably a redress of something that's been redressed many times.
Yeah, no, it was like a redress of the Wrath of Khan bridge, which was also the Reliant bridge in Wrath of Khan, and the Enterprise bridge in Search for Spock. It's also the Battle bridge in TNG. It's been used all over the place. But yeah, it's good to see that bridge back again, One interesting thing I thought about it was, and you'll mention this probably again, but one of the helm chairs, the headrest on the chair, starts from being on, and then in the next scene, it's upside down for some reason.
Oh,
and then
that didn't come out in
in the next scene,
goofs.
It's completely gone. It's just a stick. And then in the final scene, it's back, and it's back on the right way around.
No, cray. Didn't see that one. But there was one that I forgot about when the Ferengi beamed over. Everybody had that, that stance where they stand with their arms behind their back. From the front, you see everybody sort of stood to attention with their arms behind their back. And then you see behind them, you see the Ferengi beaming in, and everybody stood with their arms down by their sides.
Yeah.
So it was just little arm placement continuity area. But no, headrest continuity areas did not pick up on that one.
Yeah, I noticed
not doing my job.
No. Yeah, I even had to rewind it and show Smiler, because I was really pleased to have spotted that.
Nice. And it's good you did.
Yeah. Um. Uh, so then Picard joins them after they do some initial investigation, and he's like, "Hello, old friend." He's quite pleased to be
It
back on
feels
the
like he
bridge.
says that phrase a lot over the years. Hello,
Yeah,
old friend.
it's a Picard phrase, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
And then he goes and decides to visit his quarters, which strangely is like a door. It seems like the way he walks off looks like the door is on the wrong side of the bridge. But yeah, he goes off to his quarters. But in his quarters, he's looking through his things, and he gets another massive headache. And we find that there's a glowing sphere on the bottom in a box in like a chest in his.
Thank you, Kaz Conto. Even if they have redubbed the one saying Constitution class, it still does say on a plaque Constellation class, which is
It does.
what the the original released version had, even if they've changed it in an HD version.
Yeah, they zoom in on it. It's next to the
Nice.
turbo lift.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Also, in that same turbo lift shot where we zoom in onto that plaque, they zoom away and then they come walking in through the turbo lift, but they're not on the turbo lift. It's like the turbo lift is the end of a corridor. They've opened up one side of the turbo lift, so they just like enter stage behind the console, and they all sort of come out. It's weird because that's a turbo lift, and it you can tell from the model it's a turbo lift, and in the films it's a turbo lift. So yeah, but the way they exit from it is really strange. But yeah, so back. So yes, he has this. He has a big attack in his quarters. Oh, the quarters as well. Have you got anything on the quarters that he goes to?
Only that, he's looking at all of his stuff in a trunk, and it's like, why would he have packed? He was in the middle of living there, and they were in the middle of a battle, and they had to abandon ship. Why was all of his stuff packed neatly in a trunk? It seemed a bit odd.
It's a bit odd. But I believe that those quarters were the quarters that were Kirk's quarters in Star Trek The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
And the original Star Trek the motion picture, and that same set is later used for Data's quarters.
Nice.
So that's Data's quarters. You can tell it's like a weird tunnel shaped room that has like round walls. So I'm really nerding out tonight.
You are indeed.
I am. So back on the Enterprise, Picard asks Data. Was it Data? No, Riker or Data to take over, and he goes for a lie down because he's still suffering. And whilst he's lying down, he dreams of the battle, and then ends up doing a Smiler Rainbow, and ends up reenacting the battle in his quarters, which I get to watch Smiler do at least once a week. And while he's wandering around his room, Data finds Picard's personal logs and finds that it doesn't agree with his own account of the what happened, and that the Ferengi ship had said who they were and were flying under a flag of truce. Smile saying slander. Yeah, I'm slandering a good name. So Riker and Picard review the log after he's finished wandering around the room, and you can hear Picard's voice explaining that what happened, and that he mistook a subspace antennae for a weapons cluster, and that he is terribly sorry, and he hopes that this explanation will mean that Starfleet will be lenient when he gets rescued and they find out what happens. But nobody believes that it was actually Picard that said it. But, Picard's headache comes back, and Riker tells him to relax. Riker goes and contacts the first officer of the Ferengi in Picard's ready room and asks him if Spock knew about this. Why did he give Picard the Stargazer? Because his first officer was like, yes, my Daemon has told me all about this incident now, so I know all about it. And he's like, well, if Spock knew all about this all the time, then why did he give Picard? It doesn't make any sense, which is, what we thought right from the get-go,
Yeah, especially making no profit, a Ferengi making no profit. That's actually a crime, I think.
Yeah.
Them. And he gets all offended. He's like, oh, what are you accusing us of?
Yeah. And then
I'm so offended.
Yeah. So Beverly visits Picard, and she can't help because Spock. We cut a clip to Spock in his room, and he's got the same like orb device, and he's ramping it up and making Picard feel worse. And she's like, well, you have been under a lot of stress with the Stargazer turning up, and Picard points out that he was getting these headaches before he even knew his old ship still existed, was still out there. So, yes.
Just seen what Stuplum wrote, but I don't think we should repeat it. He's put that there's a Ferengi with an orange knob.
Well, it's factually correct.
It is, I guess. Naughty Stuplum.
Prefer orb.
Orb, yes.
He has an orange orb. Yeah. Ferengi in his orange orb. Yeah. Anyway, Beverly gives him a sedative, and Spock ramps.
She doesn't
it up
even
again.
ask his permission, Like, you're supposed to get consent before you medicate somebody.
No,
she just gives it to him.
She likes dishing
She's there,
it
like,
out.
poking things at him and doing stuff,
Yeah.
and he's just sort of ignoring her. And then she injects him with something, and he's like, "What's that?" She's like, "I'm putting you to sleep."
Yeah. Yeah. Good evening, Joel. Nice of you to join us.
Hey, my buddy Joel.
she sends Picard off to sleep, and he's back to dreaming about the battle again. So in I think it's in the ready room, Data, Geordi, and Riker are all discussing what Data's found. Oh, they're discussing that Data's found an anomaly in the recording. So possibly one of them is
checksum error.
Checksum error. Well, we know all about
those of us that work in IT know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
But in the future, apparently, they don't want to be bored with an IT lesson. So just tell us in plain English, Data.
Yeah. So the checksum error means the encoding in one of them is incorrect, and so Geordie's like, well, yeah, we know which one is incorrect. Their one, So as they're discussing it, Picard walks in, and he's just acting like everything's fine. And just takes up his seat on his desk, and Dr. Crusher then walks in and is like, I've about these brain scans, and then she's like, oh, you're here, and he's like, yes, it's my ship, I'm the captain, this is what I do, this is my job. And he tells everybody to leave apart from Riker, who stays. And then he asks Riker to release the tractor beam on the Stargazer, because the inertia, as they're just sort of cruising through space, their inertia will just carry the ship along underneath. And Riker just goes ahead and does that. Doesn't, after everything that's happened, doesn't question it.
Once again, unpredictable captain, seeing things, hearing things. Let's just release this ship under his direction.
Nothing suspicious going on here. Crusher and Troy still don't know what's going on, but Wes enters and says he's found the same energy patterns emanating from the Ferengi ship as the brain scan that Dr. Crusher found in his head. So once again, thanks to Wesley, they've figured it all out.
And did you know, this would be one for Gary, really, because, we've talked about how completely horrendously hideous Wesley's clothes have been up until this point.
Yeah.
This episode is where he first gets his grey with the rainbow effect across here, and you don't see him in anything else for the rest of the series.
No, we pointed that out when we were watching it. And do you know what? I don't know whether to admit this. Yeah, I'm going to.
I don't know whether you should either, because I don't know what you're going to say.
It's the first time I've realised that the rainbow thing is the red, yellow, blue of the command, engineering and medical, because he's an ensign and potentially trying out each discipline.
For any of those, yeah.
It's the three coloured disciplines in the shoulder pattern.
Nice.
See, I don't feel so bad now.
Never occurred to me.
You hadn't noticed that either. And now I thought, that's quite a clever design. I just noticed in this episode. Oh dear, never mind.
Learn something new every day.
You do, yeah. So yeah, and then they go, right, we're taking this to the bridge, and he leans against the wall and he's all smug. And he's like, "You're welcome, ladies."
Apparently, he really cringes at that line. That's supposed to be his most cringeworthy line. But when I was reading up on Justice, they were saying that was also one of his cringeworthy lines, was where he says, "I'm Starfleet, we don't lie." Yeah, so it seems like Will Wheaton has a lot of cringy lines that he doesn't like looking back at.
that was a couple episodes ago, wasn't it? That was the the one where he falls into the flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. As Kazdi in the chat points out, he's then like, adults. Wheaton.
Once again,
we love him so much. He gets stabbed in the next episode, and we all cheer.
Hey.
Sorry, spoilers. So they report this to Riker, and Riker considers. Riker asks the computer the location of Picard, and the computer's like, "Captain Picard is located in transport room 3."
Uh-oh.
And he's like, "Computer, hold." And computer's like, "Correction, Captain Picard is no longer on the ship." It's like, damn. Yeah. Yes.
Can't believe Joel, the geek, who I only just told him about this series 5 minutes before we started, just happened to have watched this episode a week or two ago. Yay, Star Trek geeks, we love you.
Yeah. It's a good time to watch TNG, I think.
It is.
But Picard beams straight onto the bridge, and Bok is there waiting for him, and as he goes to lurch forward, he ramps up his pain with his knob.
Orb.
He screws his orb a bit further and makes the pain worse. He sets it to max, puts down the chair, sets it to max, and then buggers off. Riker can't get out of Picard, and Geordi thinks.
However, before he buggers off, when Picard went on to there, and they put the shields up, and he beams out when the shields are up, which technically shouldn't have been possible.
Is it another? Is it? Do they do that? Do they? He beams through the shields. Oh, what on the Stargazer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. No, it's good point. They on the Enterprise they find the orb in Picard's quarters, and Geordi thinks it's some kind of amplifier, but they don't know what to do with it. Riker tries hailing the Ferengi again, and the first officer replies, and he's kind of like, well, this is now a Federation problem, so Ferengi out. But he does say that he's confronted the Daemon, and he's arrested him, or he's put him in the brig,
For pursuing non-profitable endeavours.
Yes, yeah, for breaking the rules of acquisition. Though we don't know about that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Riker shows him the device, and the first officer recognises it, doesn't he? And he's like, how did you get out of one of those?
Ooh, that's a thought maker. They're like banned and stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, that wasn't when he arrests the captain. That's just when he finds out about the thought maker. Sorry. Riker hails Picard, but Picard's gone onto full crazy mode.
He's lost it.
Yeah, he's just completely lost it at that point.
He's arming torpedoes, shields to full power.
Yeah, foaming at the mouth, and Riker realizes that he's about to pull off the Picard maneuver, and so he's like, Data, how do you counter the Picard maneuver? And Data's like, there is no counter to the Picard maneuver. We're all doomed.
Which seems a little bit lame. I mean, at the end of the day, if you know they're going to do it, you can always just, whichever one appears second, fire at that.
Yeah, fire at both.
Fire at both. Yeah,
you've got multiple. You've got multiple. You're on the Flight Federation flagship.
It's like if somebody jumps from one point to another, there's no defense against somebody jumping from one point to another.
Yeah, I'm sure Enterprise D has the firing capability to fire at 2 targets at once.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Full spread.
But Data figures out that he can put a tractor beam on it, and he comes up with a maneuver. And that was that point that they talk to the first officer, and he tells him that he's been arrested for unprofitable conduct. And Data's going to use he's going to use subspace gases to predict the movement of the ship, and then lock it in a tractor beam. And then they get hold of Riker. They bring him out of it. Riker gets hold of Picard. They bring him out of it, and he gets Picard to destroy the device with his phaser because it's sat on the chair in front of him. And that's what he does. He destroys it. And that's it. That's the end of the episode.
The only other thing I wanted to mention in this was about something around the direction. Well, actually, apparently, I didn't even notice, but with the Stargazer, does it do like a little warp? It does a warp thing, yeah? Apparently, it uses like the original series warp effect.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Rather than the TNG warp effect. And the only other thing I wanted to mention was, there was quite a lot of stuff about Rob Bowman and how he did all the stuff with the Steadicam, like on the Stargazer bridge. There was these sort of interesting sort of jaunty shots, and then when they superimposed like the crew in, and they were sort of semi-transparent and things like that.
Yeah, it was kind of an angle and stuff, wasn't it?
I think considering, so far we've seen like a lot of the effects were, generally pretty lame. And I think the way that those scenes were directed were pretty good. And at the time that he was doing it, he was trying different things out and trying to get lots of different angles. And of course, he was shooting it with just Picard saying stuff on a bridge, and then all the rest was sort of superimposed later. Yeah. And he was really surprised at how well it came out. And I think it was actually really effective. So, yeah.
Yeah, Joel pointed out that there used to be an old BBS forum called Alt Wesley Crusher Die.
That's so funny. Class.
Yeah. So we've come
to scoring time?
We've come to that time where we've got to score it. So I'm gonna. What have we got? Okay. Yes. Right.
I think I've become like the Craig Revel Horwood, haven't I? I'm normally like a point lower than what you do.
You are, yeah. So I bet you are again this week.
Let's see if that happens.
I bet I'm one ahead. I bet I'm one higher than you. You ready? 3, 2, 1. I knew it. I knew you'd be.
I feel like 10 points is not like enough, because I do feel like, it was more like a 6.5, but I couldn't quite go for the 7. But yeah, pretty good though. Pretty good. I think that's almost my equal highest score so far, isn't it? Something like that.
It is. It is up there. I mean, well, for me, it was the joint highest with The Naked Now. I think it's up there for a season 1 episode. It's a classic season 1 episode, and I think it's a good backstory to Picard. I like the old bridge. There's nostalgia for me for like looking back at the old Star Trek, and things. And the Ferengi episodes are always fun. So yeah. What should I go? Should we go for a 6.5? Should we go in the middle?
Oh, we can do. I mean, normally you round up. That's the first half point we've given.
Usually I
if you want to round up to 7,
usually I go with my.
Yeah, that's fine. You want to round up to 7? That's fine.
All
I
right.
don't mind.
I'm going to go with me. There we go. Right. Now, I've got a bit of a problem here. Yeah, next. Now, I didn't have time to write any notes on the next episode.
Well, do you know what? We didn't show any of those stills of the last series, like of the last episode, we usually do either.
I forgot.
I've only just remembered. But I have some notes.
There you go. Here's some slides. Look, here we go. Here's just going quick go through in the episode. Picard. Ouch.
Like one word commentary.
Yeah. Ouch.
Ugly.
Human females wearing clothes.
Beep,
Beep,
boop. Oh no, that's R2D2.
This is an interesting one for me because this scene where they were all stood on the middle of the bridge and they kept cutting to data at this console. You could kind of tell they set this console up on a separate little stage or something. It didn't seem a part of the action. They kept cutting to the other 3 and then to data. You never saw them like together. Looked
all
very
together, yeah.
Yeah. Logs. Pain.
Orb.
Yeah. Red alert shows up. Yeah. The Picard maneuver. Oh, there's your
yeah,
your
that's
effects.
the original series effect.
Yeah. Oh, and there he is. Look, in 2 places at once. Oh no, that's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that's not even the next episode.
No, don't know. That's season 3.
Loxana Troy, though. That's cool.
Yeah. Right. So, hide and Q.
It's a Q episode, but let's try and not make this another whole hour.
No, I won't. Well, I'll try not to. I will try my best. Right.
So you have literally no notes. You're relying on me entirely then. That's scary.
No, I am. I'll be all right. Bear with me. I'm just rearranging all my screens. You want the chat window.
Joel subscribing. Yay.
Oh, yay.
You can finish this episode later. And Joel, don't forget, next week to watch the new episodes, the next 2 episodes before next week.
2 episodes, yes. Watch them and join us.
If you haven't watched them in the last week or 2 already.
Yeah. If not, watch them again, Yeah. So, I kind of have edited, quickly edited in the space of about 15 minutes, the notes from Memory Alpha, the Star Trek fan site, like the Star Trek Wikipedia. So, bear with me as we go through this one. So a Federation colony transmits an urgent call for medical help because they've had a mining disaster and they've got 504 colonists on site. So in a corridor with absolutely the most goping wallpaper I've seen in a Enterprise starship corridor, Crusher is busy making arrangements and getting all the staff organised to look after the look after the people.
Just wanted to say bye to Steph as well. So Kazdi Kondo
All right.
is off for the evening. And yes, I'll see you in the meeting tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Kazdi.
Thanks for watching. Join us next week. And subscribe.
Oh yeah, both subscribe.
Done and done.
Like as well if you can. Like the stream. Yeah, did you think much of the wallpaper in the corridor? Did you make a note of that?
No, I did not notice the wallpaper at all. Have you got a picture?
I'm just having a look. I'm just having a look to see if there's no picture. There's no picture of that. Unfortunately, sorry. So they're en route to the mining colony at warp 9.1, which is shifting it in this era of Star Trek. And on the bridge, Geordi reports the Enterprise is there's a force field about to enwrap it, because of course Geordi doesn't know what it is at first sight, because he was on Farpoint Station when the Enterprise first came across it.
Oh, of course, yeah.
He's like, oh, there's a force field. What's this? And of course it's Q. Q appears on the bridge as an Aldebaran,
a three-headed snake thing.
A three-headed snake thing. And informs the bridge crew that the Q Continuum, after studying their recent contact with humanity, are impressed and wishes to discuss it further. And Picard's urgently like, well, can this wait? We were on a mission. We're busy, but Q demands that he abandons the mission. And he changes into a Starfleet Admiral's uniform, which has got the most ridiculous gold collar I've ever seen.
Like a frilly, like a fringe thingy.
Yeah. It's like, what is that?
Did you know?
Yeah. Did I? No.
This is the only episode ever where that Q is in where he doesn't wear a captain's uniform.
No, I did not know. But there's probably a good reason for that.
Well, it's also, I mean, as you'll see a bit later, the only episode ever where he wears a lieutenant's uniform. So there you go.
Lieutenant's uniform or commander's uniform?
Lieutenant commander? Oh, I don't know.
Commander.
Oh, right, okay.
Three pips. He wears a commander's uniform because he's trying to show that we'll get there. There's a reason for it. But yeah, and I think there is a reason for it, because he's trying to say here he's better than Picard, and that's what he's always trying to say, right? He's either a captain because he's trying to show that, he's trying to ingratiate himself to Picard to say that, we're the same. But when he wants to tick Picard off, he poses as his superior. But I've never seen an admiral with that much gold on their shirt. But yeah.
He does like to exaggerate, though. It's like when he tries to look like Chakotay in Voyager, and he has this like massive tattoo all over his face and stuff. He does like to exaggerate.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. He was like, he took the admiral's uniform and just was like, no, I need much more gold on this. So yeah, he comes. Worf starts towards Q, and Picard tells Worf to back off, and Q calls him a macro head with a micro brain, which is another one of those I don't know. Oh, so funny season 1 scripts. You're a macro head with a micro brain.
Micro brain.
And Picard says that he'll listen to Q's offer of the realization of their impossible dreams, but only following the rescue mission. Q disagrees and turns towards Riker and asking what he finds of Q's offer. Riker says that they don't have the time for these games, and the mention of games sort of excites Q. It triggers his excitement, and he's like, games? Yeah. And with that,
you gotta love Q.
He transports Riker, Data, LaForge, Yar, and Worf off the bridge and onto an M-class planet. and Picard's left all alone by himself on his bridge.
But even then, like, he says, games? What better than a game? And what better than one with deadly consequences? Yay!
Yay!
And it's like,
He's
oh
so
my
happy.
God, you psycho.
Yeah. Yeah. And worse for Picard, he's on the bridge, but nothing works. He can't contact anyone. He can't go anywhere. He's just trapped there. On the planet, they find Q, and he's dressed up as a Napoleonic marshal, and
it's one of those typical sort of the original series type sets as well this time, isn't it?
yeah, it looks like a soundstage, doesn't it? Well, it's been dressed up with rocks and sand, and they've set the background
with a generic
green
light background. Yeah.
Yeah, it does look really bad. But yeah, Data confirms what it is. We're looking at a Napoleonic era campaign tent, and he's wearing a marshal uniform, and Riker's like, oh, that outranks even an admiral. And Q's like, well, of course. When are you going to go up? He gives everybody a drink. He gives Riker some lemonade, and he gives everybody a drink, and Worf's just snarls at him and pours the drink on the floor. And
Data kind of looks at it and is like, I don't drink.
Yeah. Yeah. Which again, good writing. That's kind of foreshadowing. I like it because it's kind of like, that's his whole thing. Riker was given it, and the first thing he did was drink it. Everybody else was just kind of like, no, thank you. Which,
True, yes. And amazingly, although Riker drank some, then in the next shot, the glass is refilled again.
Oh.
Which you could explain as a continuity error, or you could explain it as, well, Q's got magical powers. He probably refilled it.
Yeah. It could be the ever filling glass of lemonade. Yeah, so declaring that point that this is a game and the game is to stay alive, he promises great future for humankind if they win, but something disastrous if they lose. And Worf says that, well, as long as the game's fair, and Q responds that, oh no, this game's going to be completely unfair, and brushes off fairness as just a human concept. Yar protests, and Q doesn't like her protestations, so he sends her away to the penalty box, and she seemingly disappears to nothingness. And says that if anyone else... Sorry, yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned earlier, but meanwhile, while they're down there, Picard's up on the bridge on his own, and he's like, hello, security?
Yeah.
I can't remember if you mentioned that,
yeah.
but...
He can't do anything. He can't leave. He can't talk to anyone. Nothing. But yeah, if anybody else displeases me or violates the rules of the game, they'll get put in the penalty box, displacing Yar into complete nothingness. So no more transgressions from any of you lot. So then back on the bridge with Picard, and he's like, can't do anything. You can't even get the log entry system to work. And he's like, Captain's log, and the computer's just like, just making weird noises at him. Nothing's working.
Can't even do that.
No. And then Yar reappears at a position behind the arch. We've probably got pictures. I've been forgetting. Oh look.
There's the nice set. Green background.
Yeah.
To be fair, the rocks look fairly real, but the horizon looks very fake.
Yeah. So yeah, Yar reappears, and she's upset about being controlled by Q's whims, and it's left her off balance. And she's on the verge of tears. Picard, unlike Picard, he goes up and actually comforts her, and she's ashamed of herself and for showing weakness and all that. And it's all becoming quite a nice emotional little scene. And then she's really quite awkward. Yar's like hints at, well, if you just weren't my captain, what I'd like to
I
do to
know.
you.
Do you know the number of times I've seen like TNG and I never really clocked that she made a pass at him.
Yeah. She's like, what I'd like to do to you. And then Q suddenly appears, apparently, getting bored of the display they were putting on. And he's like, yeah, your penalty's now over. You're fine.
Do you know, I didn't actually sort of double check on this one, but apparently when he says penalty over, there's like another person like behind him or something.
Is there?
That was one of the goofs I picked up. But I was so busy earlier, I was sort of like trying to get showered and various other things that I didn't actually double check that one like I did with the mic boom. But yeah, it'll be one to check on whether when he says penalty over, if you can see somebody in the background. There's also, I think.
I'll look it up. I'm going to look that one up as well. I've made a note.
I think there was something I forgot earlier. Some of the stuff around, the fleur de lis and stuff is quite good and quite accurate. I think there's some mismatch between some of the timescales of whether things are 18th, 19th century and some of them 20th century. So those are sort of minor things, I guess. But yeah, I think that's about it. Continue.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot to say, sorry, the barrier scenes at the beginning where the Q barrier goes up, that's actually reused footage from Encounter at Farpoint, but I guess that's an obvious one.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the Enterprise shots and things are, reused pretty much every episode,
sure.
It's just the way that's what they do. So yeah, but Q sat in Picard's chair, and he starts to make a Starlog entry for Picard, explaining the real intent of his game is to. He's like, Q's log. I'm testing the ship. Whether the ship's first officer is worthy of the greatest gift the Q can offer, and they make a bet. Picard's command against Q's keeping out of humanity's path forever, and Q then promptly tells Picard that he's already lost, as Riker will be off something impossible to refuse.
Wasn't it a little bit surprising, though, that Picard would gamble away his command, like, literally without a second thought?
He's got that much faith in Riker. He's like, I bet my command on it. Meanwhile, down on the planet, Riker, Data, and Forge are watching Worf gather reconnaissance in the distance, and he's already over the third ridge.
He's on a mission.
Yeah, and apparently he comes across some aliens dressed in 18th century French uniforms heading their way, and they're armed with ancient muskets. And then back on the ship in Picard's ready room. Oh no, I pressed the wrong button. Oh gosh, come back. That button. There you go. Picard confronts Q in his ready room. Because he's sitting in his chair.
Quite entertaining as well. This scene's quite entertaining.
Yeah, and Q's reading one of Shakespeare's works. And Picard asks Q. Picard asks why Q is demonstrating the need for humans through this confrontation instead of providing a simple, direct explanation, a statement of what he seeks. And through Q's reciting, Picard understands how humans respond to games, tells him more about them. Oh yes, I see. Yeah, he's like how you. He's basically saying how you respond to games, and your actions tells me more than you giving me the answers. Through words. Q proposes to continue, and quotes some Hamlet at him, and Picard refuses and quotes to him instead. What a piece of work is man! How noble in reason! How infinite in faculty, in form, in moving, how express and admirable in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god! And Q stands up and objects from his chair. He's like, surely you can't see humanity to be like that. And Picard's like, sure, not now, but one day will possibly be like that. And whether it be out of fear or sheer frustration, Q throws the book at him and then leaves in his Q fashion.
I mean, it's great though. They have a Shakespeare off, and Patrick Stewart wins. He's a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah.
Who starred in Hamlet, and he's at one point Q's like, "Do you know Hamlet?"
Yeah.
It's just a great scene.
Yeah, I can't do the quote justice, but out of Picard's mouth, it sounds really impressive. Back on the planet, discussing the situation, Data explains that the muskets are well inferior to their phasers. So, they got nothing to worry about.
But surely Q wouldn't give them that kind of an advantage.
No, of course, it's an unfair game. So as the alien hordes come rounding the corner, what they actually fire at them is actually phasers, like really powerful phasers from these muskets. Q then appears, like Data turns round, and it's not Data, it's Q in Data makeup. And he tells Riker to think fast. And I think it's quite funny because it's like Data Q turns round and he's like to Riker, think fast. And Riker's there, stood there like,
Normally that means somebody's going to throw something at you and you have to catch it, isn't it?
Yeah. And after a long thought, he declares, they aren't normal muskets. Which I thought was hilarious, considering they're shooting phaser bolts at them. It's like, wow, what a genius. Q then tells him he now has the power of the Q and is able to transport his crewmates back to the ship. And he does so. I don't know what his little thing is. Does he click his fingers or does he do a little twist of his hand? I can't remember.
What, Riker? He just kind of goes...
Oh, he goes, oh yeah, that's his one. So some
it
weird...
looks pretty lame, actually. It's not even a wave.
No, it's not a wave.
Almost it's almost like a queenly wave, like a slightly, I don't know what it is.
You think you'd be like, boom, baby.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah. Done.
Something.
But no, it's just, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Stu Plum says we need to give Q his gin. I guess that's because he can't drink any right now. That must be one of the biggest bummers of being stuck in hospital, actually.
Yeah, that's not fun, is it? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, we got what's the next? Oh, let's leave it on this picture for a while. So... I just lost my place.
You're just so happy to see Wheaton actually
I
get
know.
stabbed.
It made me lose my back on board the Enterprise.
Yes, yeah.
Everything's working again. All
It
systems
was
are
almost as if
functioning.
they'd never stopped.
Yeah, the Q grid's
Got the same course and
disappeared.
speed.
Yeah, nothing. The Data and the Forger, they're all back on the bridge. Picard explains to him that Q has shown some kind of interest in their first officer since their mission at Farpoint. On the planetoid, back on the planetoid, Riker is maniacally laughing. So we go back onto the planet, and there's Riker. I think he's sat in the tent there, and he's just like, for way too long. And Riker and Q are discussing the powers of Q that he's granted Riker. This is at the point that Q now appears as a commander with the 3-pin rank on. So he's the same as Riker. So he's showing now that he's trying to ingratiate himself with Riker.
Yeah, the lieutenant rank was the fact that he appeared as Data.
Oh, he did.
That's the only time he's ever appeared as a lieutenant. So that's what I was talking about.
No, yeah, you were right. So I completely take it back from what you were saying earlier. Yes. So he's both admiral, commander, and lieutenant.
And lieutenant,
yeah,
but not captain.
Not
only
captain.
one where he's not captain.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, so he appears as a commander. and Riker asks what he wants from him. And Q replies that the Continuum has granted him the gift beyond all other gifts, and said that before the Farpoint station they saw humanity as only savages, and now they discovered that they're unusual creatures with limitless potential. And it's a bit like what Picard was saying in his ready room by quoting Shakespeare, that they've got this massive potential to even
We
become
have
stronger than the Q.
a human compulsion for growth
Yeah.
that the Q is kind of lacking.
Yes. But Riker rejects Q's powers, and Q disappears. And suddenly all the bridge crew, including Picard, and also Wesley, appear on the planet's surface again. And they're approached by the soldier creatures, and now unarmed. Only Riker's powers can save them. Worf's stabbed with a bayonet. And of all the people, the whole bridge crew were all stood about there. And Worf, their only warrior, gets taken down. So Wesley runs to his aid.
It's a bit of a poor, like the bayonet clearly doesn't make a connection either, and Worf's just like, ah.
Yeah. And so Wesley then gets stabbed with a bayonet as well, straight through the stomach. So there we go.
Whoop whoop.
Woo! And that's where the series ends. Wesley's dead.
Not quite.
No. It gets killed, and we all cheer. Frustrated and angry, Riker uses his newfound powers in Q-like style to put a force field round him, the Q force field. And then he transports them all back to the Enterprise, and healing Worf and Crusher in the process. And Picard's absolutely stunned by all this. He used his powers. Oh my. And then on the Enterprise, they
have a little tete-a-tete.
Yeah, they arrive at the mining colony in Picard's ready room. Picard tries to advise Riser that his new powers, he's gonna have to
potentially make a decision.
He either stays here and doesn't use them, or he goes off and becomes a Q. And Riker agrees to not use his powers. And then on a rescue team mission, they go down to rescue the colonists. A young girl gets crushed underneath some large rocks. And I think it was Dr. Crusher says it's too late, and Riker's faced with a dilemma. And I think it's Data who's like, well, why don't you just bring her back?
Yeah, that's right. Data says, can't you use your powers? And Crusher's like, what? Surely you couldn't like bring her back to life.
Yeah.
And Riker says, I can't because I'm bound by a promise.
So then they return to the Enterprise, and Riker comes right up to the arch and leans on it Riker style. And he's like, I never should have made that promise to you. And he's like, I want to assemble the whole senior staff in the ready room. And
at this point, it seems like, invasion of the body snatchers. Yeah. Basically, Riker's entire personality goes out the window, and he becomes somebody completely different for a little while.
Yeah, it's great acting. He's like, assemble the whole senior staff. I want to talk to them now. And Picard's like, no, after we've finished out our mission, I might let you. And Riker does a head whip. He's like, huh! and trounces off back to the turbo lift. I thought it was just so funny the way he does it. It's just like, huh!
If he was like a 15-year-old girl with curls, it would have worked.
He would have whipped his hair, but he's not. So, fail. So yes, the senior staff then meet on the bridge. He says, all right, if we meet on the bridge, because all the senior staff are here.
Yeah, but he's like, I've called the senior staff, and he starts calling Picard Jean-Luc.
Picard's like, no, I'm letting you talk to the senior staff. And he's like, okay, Jean-Luc. Like a petulant child. Crusher wants Resdi she wants Wesley to be there as well.
Yeah, he's like, why is the child here? And then
Yeah.
Wesley's like, well, you made me part of the bridge crew. I
Yeah.
should be here if you're assembling all the bridge crew.
Yeah. Riker explains that even though he's been granted these unusual powers, he's not a monster. He's still the same old William Riker, but we disagree. He's turned into a monster. Picard reminds him that he's already changed. For example, calling him Jean-Luc. Riker doesn't think his decision to not save the child was right. He's comparing it to the fact that he saved the entire bridge crew earlier, but Picard points out that that was a situation that Q invented himself, so it kind of cancels each other out, you know. And he tries to say that convince Riker that Q doesn't admire humans and they're just muddling Riker's mind. And then Q appears in a medieval monk on the bridge, complete with dark.
Hello, brother.
I've been forgetting to hang on.
Put chat window back.
Look at him, looking all smug. It's like, look at me, I'm Q.
It's just bizarre. It is like overacts are us.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Brilliant. I didn't realise how much they stand about on the bridge. You know, in the last episode when they were talking to the Ferengi on the view screen, it's like only Data and Geordi were the only people sat down on the bridge. Troy, Riker, Picard, Yar, Worf, Crusher, they were all just stood around the bridge. It's like, nobody sits down. So, so Picard furiously asks Q, have you no identity of your own? And Q retorts, I forgive you your blasphemy, because he's a monk now. Picard declares him nothing but a flim-flam man. He's like, can't you see? He's just a flim-flam man.
That's a great phrase.
Yeah.
He's just a flim-flam man.
Yeah. And Riker asked to give each of the senior staff something they would most like. And Dr. Crusher then asks Wesley to leave. But Riker, however, knowing his young friend so well, knows he wishes he was older, and he turns Wesley into a man. I think there's a picture of that. Yeah. He's asked them all to assemble. Look, and then there you go. There's Wesley as a man. Well, you see the colours of the uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he's saying that.
And if that's what Will Wheaton was supposed to look like 10 years later, I imagine the real Will Wheaton looks back on this thinking, oh, I wish.
Yes. Because funnily enough, he still looks the same, just old.
He does.
It's funny how that
but
works.
Geordie's like, where's nice?
Nice. Yeah. He offers to make Data human, but Data declines.
Says no.
Saying no, he'd never feel like the real him. And then Data quotes Shakespeare to drive his point home and says, "This above all to thine own self be true." Riker then talks to LaForge, grants him his vision Mac. Geordie takes a look at Quadra Sigma 3 through the view screen, and then takes a long look at Tasha Yar's beautiful face, and goes, "Actually, I'd want my eyes back. I want my blindness back." Oh, harsh.
It wasn't because of that. It was because he didn't like who he would have to thank for it.
Yeah. Yes, because he says, he says the price is too high, and I don't like who I have to thank for it. So Riker then creates a Klingon female mate for Worf, and they growl at each other, and Worf smacks her one across the bridge. And Geordie's
Worf
like,
shows that basically all Klingons are wife beaters.
Yeah, and domestic abuse are us. Is the Klingons.
Probably would not be done in a more modern sci-fi series, but there you go.
Well, I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, they did it quite a bit in Deep Space Nine. But, so Geordie's like, is this sex? And Worf's like, this is sex. It's like, oh, go get a ring.
Ick.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Um, like it felt the bridge crew. I mean, okay. Worf says he doesn't want it because there's no place for this in his life now. And Wesley's then like everybody else has said no, so he's like,
Peer pressure.
yeah, I don't want it either because I need to make my own way there. And it's then that Q says, "But it's easier, boy. Listen to Riker." And it's at that point Riker's like snaps out of his. It's like he's been, you know, what do you call it when someone's under a spell?
Hypnosis.
Yeah, he snaps out of Q's hypnosis, and it's like, oh, I've been such an idiot. And Picard,
How did you know?
Picard, to comfort him, goes, "Quite right. So you should."
Yeah, he actually says, "How did you know, sir?" So you know he's back because he's saying, "Sir."
I feel like such an idiot. And he's like, "Quite right. So you should." And then Picard walks up to Q, and pulls his hood off, and tells
it's
him
all over, Q.
He tells him to uphold his wager, you know. And Q stomping about says, "I recall no wager." And Picard's like, "Well, your fellow Q will remember. And because you failed to turn Riker, I promised he promised to stay. He should promise to stay out of humanity's way forever." There's thunder sounds on the bridge, and Q's abruptly called back to the continuum, and he sort of screams his way out of the bridge.
Probably going to get a spanking.
He is. He is getting a spanking. And then everything goes back to normal, like no time has passed. And Data asks Captain how Q can handle space and time so well, but handle interactions with humans so badly. And Picard answers that, one day, we'll learn that space and time are easier to handle than the human
equation.
Yeah. And they go off to warp speed and on to their next mission. So there you go. That was you. 2 great episodes for this week. Really enjoyed it.
Couple of little minor things just to mention. And one fairly major thing actually that you may not have noticed. It's the first time we ever seen Geordi without his visor. That's kind of obvious.
Yes.
During the fights, they had some fights and there was some music in the background. That was actually from the Revolution song La Marseillaise or La Marseillaise from like the kind of like the French Revolution.
Oh, right.
So there's some like musical references around the Napoleonic War, which were kind of embedded in the background with the fighting, which was quite cool, I thought, as a little point to note. And something I think possibly, I don't know if you've noticed, there was a character missing.
Troi.
Yes.
Yeah, they said in one line at the beginning of the episode, "We've just dropped Troi off at her home world."
So the reasons for that, I mean, I haven't really delved into it. There was, I saw one reference which said this was one of about 3 episodes where she wasn't featured at a point where they were considering whether to write her character out. Right. There was another reference which said she was supposed to be featured and she was actually in the scripts, but couldn't be for a last minute reason. And a few of her lines got given to Troi or other people. So it was more of a last minute thing. So sorry, yeah, you are. So unclear as to what the reason was, but yes, this is one of about 3 episodes that Deanna was not present. Just as an interesting thing. And another thing is just something that was written out, which was later, completely disbanded anyway. But apparently there was originally a bit of a subplot or a backstory to do with the Q, like some facts about the Q, that apparently there were 3 of them, these sort of all-powerful beings, but that there were about 100,000 other people that lived on the Q world that were kind of, bestowed the the honor of living there and that sort of thing. But this, didn't make it through to the final cut. And then obviously later on, much later on, actually in Voyager, they explored exactly what the Q continuum was, which was a completely different sort of idea or concept at that time. And I think for the future of Star Trek, I'm quite glad that they didn't, at this early stage, establish that it was just 3 people or something.
Yeah.
But there was this, this backstory concept which was abandoned for this episode.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. One thing I
Pretty
did
good
notice.
episode.
One thing I did notice with these 2 episodes was after the last 2 episodes, I said that I liked those episodes had the main story and then the sub story, the A and B stories, and how most TNG episodes, like that was like a stable of how TNG episodes work. I noticed that the very next 2 episodes were just one story episodes. They just had one story. Both of them they didn't have any
secondary
plots, just the main one. So I was like, oh, there you go.
But also, as a general observation, I mean, it sounds weird, but I've just been watching all the Teen Wolf, binge watching them. And I think, with a lot of these kinds of series, I guess probably with things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if you were to look at a lot of these, they are also structured in a similar way. You often have a main plot, a subplot, and you have the whole idea of the acts because it's developed for TV with the ads in between. So obviously I get that, it makes it feel next generation-y or not when they're not doing that. But that's certainly not peculiar to Star Trek. It's quite common of TV series.
Yeah. Stargate, often, any
Yeah.
of these 1990s, this era of television, the good shows were structured in that way,
Which is why maybe I quite liked Teen Wolf. It felt to me a bit like watching Buffy. It was like a similar kind of style. It had a similar feel to it. So I quite enjoyed that. Yeah, but it had that same sort of charm.
Buffy's another great series.
Amazing, love it.
Yeah.
Watched it many times.
Yes. Yeah, we watched it with the kids recently up until it got weird with Spike, and then they were like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
I did warn you. Yeah, I warned you.
So we've still got to finish watching it. Maybe next year, a little bit later, a little further down the line.
Just let them watch it of their own accord. You don't have to watch it as a family.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. There's a picture of Q being recalled to the continuum, and him going, "No!" Yeah, good to see Q there suffer a little bit. Right, scores on the doors.
It's a difficult one because, I love the storyline and I love Q in general. But then there was quite a bit of dodgy acting, dodgy sets. So difficult to say.
Yeah, difficult one. Are you ready?
Ready?
Ready. 3, 2, 1.
Hey! We agree for a change.
Yeah, I don't think it's as good as the battle. I think the battle's a better episode. I think it's slightly better written. I say the directing in it is really good. The sets are really good on the other ship. So I think it's just they're both entertaining, but I think the battle's better. Even though
I think the battle's got the better the battle's got all the better sort of shots and direction and stuff, but then this one's got John Delancey, so yeah, each of those things make up for each other. I think
the good thing in the Next Generation is the Q episodes just get better.
Yeah.
As it goes on, there's just some class Q episodes. I don't think this is one of the better ones.
True that.
But yeah. So, well, it's a resounding 6 for that one.
Yep.
So, yeah. We might have we'll at some point get G-Star's opinions, his votes on all these, and we'll add them on.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I should put all of our things down individually.
What, in case you need to average up or down based on
Yeah.
G scores?
Yeah. I don't know what you gave all the other episodes.
You'll have to watch them back.
Oh yeah, I'll have to go back over all the live streams. Yeah. Well, it gives me another view, doesn't it?
So what episodes should people be looking out for next week then?
Well, the episodes.
The pressure. Do you know?
They should be looking out for. Oh, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to look it up.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll have to look at it. It's who can get to it first, as per usual.
It is
You always get to it
Haven
first.
and The Big Goodbye.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what either of those are. They good ones? Just give us that much.
The Big Goodbye is a holodeck episode.
Oh, that could be cool. First big holodeck episode.
Yeah. Haven is it's one of those ones where they go in. I think it's like a no, I can't
nice
remember.
Planet.
Yeah, it's a nice planet, and one of these ones where they visit a planet and there's a moral dilemma of what they're, the planet and their
Cool.
Yeah, I can't remember. I cannot remember. I think it's a Troy episode. So maybe, we didn't have Troy in this episode.
So it is.
So,
Haha. I think maybe the little picture you saw earlier with Luoxana Troy, that might have been from Haven.
Maybe.
So yeah, I think she's betrothed to somebody or something.
Oh, is that what it is?
And then, The Big Goodbye is... Oh, I think it's the first one where Picard looks at the Dixon Hill series. So that's cool.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Super cool. That should be good.
I think it's one of those ones where they get trapped in holodeck and they have to solve the thing to actually get back out or something. It's one of those type of episodes.
Super cool.
Yeah, that'd be good. Look forward to that.
Indeed.
Yeah. Missing anything in chat?
2 more subs. Thanks to my colleagues.
Subs, yes. I see Stu Plum was wanting Q to refill his gin.
Yeah.
You would like to have a queue around just to keep refilling gins. If
like with the lemonade.
Yeah.
That would be superb.
Yeah.
We all know what we'd use our Q powers for. Never-ending wine.
Yeah. Well, if anybody's still watching, I think probably everybody's tuned out by now and probably think we'll pick it up in the replay later on. But, thank you for joining us. Thank you, my co-host, Mazza McBob, once again. And we will see you back here next week, 8 o'clock, for the next 2 episodes.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Ta-ra!
Bye.